The second part of the testing is to see if the train, or a reasonable train, can actually get up the slope. And what I'm finding is that this particular train, which has an engine with which drives the front bogie, a ring-filled motor, and there are two traction tyres on that bogie, and the weight of it and the and the tractive effort, the grip of the track isn't sufficient. There's certainly enough power in the motor, but you can hear that the wheels are spinning, and what you can see is it's trying to pull up a slope and round a corner. I won't burn out the tyres. Let's just pull it back. I can get it up by taking the run-up at it. Now the slope is approximately 1 in 23. Here we have quite a steep bit of slope, but for this section the rear half of the train will be on the level, and it isn't going round much of a curve, it's fairly straight. So straight slope, it's less of a challenge. However, as we follow it round, then we find that we're into the steepest part of the curve. This is my double curve in terms of the fact that it's flattened out in the middle, so it isn't at its steepest in the middle. It's quite a wide radius in the middle, and so once the train has got to this part, i.e. over that first bit, it's fine. And when we get to the second steeper part of the curve, actually, as I've laid the track, it's flexed out a bit, so it isn't quite as steep as drawn. Then it has no problem, because very little slope here, less of a curve here, even though there's a slope. And so the place it has the trouble is where there's maximum curve and slope, and all of the weight of the train is actually on the slope and on a curve. So three possibilities. First possibility, ease the radius so that it's not having to pull around as much of a curve. Better still would be easing the slope so it's not as steep a slope, because that's going to give it its biggest challenge. The third possibility is, as this is designated on my layout as a branch line, only relatively short trains with powerful engines would use this track, and in that case they shouldn't have any problem. I've yet to try it, but we wouldn't use trains with not a weak engine, but the weight of the engine and the grip of the wheels is not sufficient to pull 3 coaches up that hill round a curve. It's the same if we drive it in reverse. Here we have the engine at the back pushing. I've just dislodged that, and you'll see at the other end where we have the let's give it a bit more power. If I take a run up at that slope, it will have no problem getting up it, but there you can hear the wheels slipping as it tries to push the train up the slope around the curve. As I say, if I bring it back, it is possible to get it to go up if you actually take a big run up at it, but of course that's cheating. It is slipping. No, and this time it hasn't done it. Just too much. I'll stop it, and you can see that we're not talking about a really massively steep slope, but it's the combination of the slope and the curve, I believe, and the fact that there isn't enough weight or traction in the engine.